The penguins and the polar bears live in regions where the temperature is one of the lowest on Earth. The camels and fennec fox live in deserts where it is hot and dry. Water proboscis monkeys live in the mangrove swamps. How do these animals survive under such different conditions? Can their bodies function optimally in extreme temperatures and environmental conditions? How do they ensure this? In this lesson, we will explore the importance of maintaining an optimal internal environment of a cell. At the end of this lesson, a student will be able to state the meaning of internal environment, identify factors affecting the internal environment, explain the necessity to maintain optimal internal environment, describe the involvement of various systems in maintaining optimal internal environment. Look at the fish. How do we keep the fish active and healthy? What happens to the fish when the water is murky? This is an amoeba. What happens to the amoeba when salt is added to the water? Both the fish and the amoeba need a healthy environment to live in. If the environment is not maintained, then they may eventually die. Multicellular organisms are made up of millions of microscopic cells. The organism is dependent on these cells to carry out its multitude of activities. Therefore, it is important that the cell's immediate environment is optimum for the functioning of the cells. The cells are constantly being bathed by fluids in the body. These fluids are rich in mineral ions, nutrients, and dissolved oxygen necessary for the cell to live. The body fluid that surrounds the cell is called the internal environment of the cell. Why is it important to have a constant internal environment? Here are some cheek cells in an optimum solution. What happens when changes are made to the chemical composition of the solution? Add some sugar into the solution by dragging the spoon to the petri dish. What happens to the cheek cells when sugar is added? Click Check to compare your answer. The cheek cells shrank. The internal environment of the cell must be maintained so that it is always optimum for the organism to be active in and to be less dependent on the external environment. How do penguins and polar bears survive in such low temperatures? How do other animals live in deserts where the climate is hot and dry, or in the saline waters of the mangrove swamps? Discuss in pairs and click on Check to compare your answers. Animals have their own ways to maintain the internal environment so that they can live in diverse habitats. With constant internal environment, the organisms are less influenced by external factors. Animals in cold climate have thick fur and a thick layer of fat under the skin to maintain their body heat. Animals in the hot desert, such as camels, store the fat in the hump, whereas the fennec fox has large ears and wrinkled skin to increase the surface area for heat loss. The proboscis monkey feeds on fruits and plants from the mangrove swamp. It has a unique adaptation by having several stomachs, each filled with potent digestive bacteria. What happens when a person exercises vigorously? Click play to check your answer. He loses a lot of water through sweating. How does this affect the composition of the body fluid? The loss of water increases the osmotic pressure of the body fluid. Change in osmotic pressure will affect the functions of the cell. Osmotic pressure is one of the factors that can affect the internal environment of the cell. Can you think of any other factors that can affect the internal environment of the cell? Temperature, pH, and glucose concentration are some of the factors that can affect the equilibrium of the internal environment of the cell. Most organisms, however, are equipped with various systems that are able to control these factors so that whatever changes that occur are corrected and the internal environment is always maintained. We need systems that can remove wastes, supply oxygen and nutrients to the cell, and maintain the pH and temperature of the fluid surrounding the cell. Which body system do you think is involved in maintaining the following factors? Water and osmotic pressure of the blood, glucose concentration of the blood, body temperature, concentration of oxygen and carbon dioxide, pH concentration, organic chemical compositions such as urea and toxic wastes. Drag and drop the following factors to its respective system. This lesson consists of 4 learning outcomes. Click on each learning outcome for a brief summary of them. The different systems in our body work together to maintain an optimal internal environment so that our cells are always performing at their maximum efficiency. An optimal environment surrounding the cell would ensure that all the organelles in the cell are balanced and functioning efficiently. A change in the environment would reduce the efficiency of the cell. There are many factors that can affect the internal environment, and some of the factors are body temperature, blood pH levels, concentration of glucose and osmotic pressure. Internal environment refers to the body fluids or any other fluids that are in constant or balanced contact with our cells.